Right, can we like finally set the record straight on this, please?
I laugh me, baby, bust it open, bring it back. I'm the realest killer in it, I don't even need to act. Throwing up the racks, I'm just throwing up the racks, baby.
Yo, what's poppin'? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, guys. Really do hope that stuff I want to talk about. There's been a lot of, since the international break and beyond, there's been a lot of talk about Kai Havertz at Arsenal and, you know, Chelsea make a big mistake and, you know, they got a wicked asset out of Chelsea and yada, yada, yada. And also, disclaimer, I'm a fan of Kai Havertz as a footballer, but I've seen this going around on social media, YouTube channels, this big talk about, you know, Arsenal getting a gem out of Chelsea. I want to speak about that, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, respectively, because that's the other side of this narrative. Like, oh, Chelsea robbed Man United, getting 60 million of them for this guy who's, you know, never available and hasn't turned up for United, and da-da-da-da-da. Both radical narratives that I really want to speak about in this video, so I'm going to do that. Not referencing articles today, this is very much a conversation piece, and if we have time, I do want to do a little bit on Reece James as well. The captaincy, and has our potentially best player has his career come to, like, I don't say an end, but like a very, very sort of terminal negative point? Just posing the question. We are going to get into all of it today, guys, so thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for supporting the content. As always, we are on the road to 200,000 subscribers here on the channel Football Therapy, so thank you for subscribing if you want to. Hit the bell if you choose to. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so the summer before the one that's ending now, we sold Mason Mount to Manchester United for 55, rising to 60 million pounds. We sold Kai Havertz to Arsenal for 65, rising to 68 million pounds. And indeed Kovacic for about 30 million to City, which is probably about right and fine. But of course, the main two big resolving narratives is, you know, Chelsea scammed Man United, and of course, now annexing itself to that narrative and piggybacking on the story is, you know, Jadon Sancho coming to Chelsea for 20 million, a third of the Mason Mount money. Of course, you know, there might be add-ons, and immediately getting the man of the match off the bench, which obviously is a fun piece of theatre and narrative in football, which we all enjoy, and it's just terrific banter. And me being from the south of England and being in my mid-30s, all my friends are Man United, friends are Man United fans, so terrific ammunition for me. But I want to speak about Kai Havertz, and by the way, I like both these players. I can go into detail about why I like both the players, and also Kai Havertz, in terms of owing something to Chelsea, neither of them owe anything to Chelsea. Maybe Mason Mount, because he spent his whole career at Chelsea, and there was the sort of like banners and stuff. And I know Chelsea kind of made it hurt to him that he's not going to be necessarily a starter in the team, and therefore he took his opportunity to go to Man United. A little bit no love lost for me, because I know he wasn't a Chelsea fan. He's a Pompey fan. That's well documented that he's a Portsmouth fan, and his old man is a Man United fan, and we all saw the video when he turned up at Old Trafford and he was like, home mate, home, like they've got it, they've reached their target destination, whatever, fine, good luck to you. Do you know what I mean? I'm very thankful for the time Mason Mount was at Chelsea. It was a lot of fun under Lampard. He of course was very important, not just in the Champions League final, of course, as was Kai Havertz, but leading up to that final as well. So I'm thankful, you know, and to be honest, like, more like Kai Havertz. I know he's gone to a direct London rival than Arsenal. I've got no issue with Kai Havertz because he was a high-profile target for European clubs. I think Real Madrid were looking at him, Bayern Munich were looking at him. Chelsea paid I think we over 70 million quid for him. So we got him, we gave him a massive wages, he came to Chelsea. I'm sure he does not regret that, because he came to Chelsea, he earned a lot of money, he settled in London, he won the Champions League, Super Cup and Club World Cup. Not a bad start to life in English football. And of course, got his move to Arsenal. Let's continue the narrative here. Again, I'm regurgitating facts that I've heard from Liam Twomey, the Athletic Chelsea correspondent. I don't understand how book value works, but Kai Havertz's book value on Chelsea's accounts was like 27 million quid or less even, which I don't understand considering we spent over 70 on him, but that's what he was in the accounts, around 27 million or something like that. So the fact how we got 65 million base up front from Arsenal was a sensational piece of business from Chelsea. And all the reports at the time were saying Chelsea couldn't believe they got this amount for Kai Havertz, but also because no one else was in for him. There was no bidding war for him. It's not like Real Madrid were there or Bayern Munich came back or anyone like that. There was no buyers there was no people interested in Kai Havertz except Arsenal. We said 65 rising to 68 and they paid it, which is pretty crazy. Now, I've got no issue with Kai Havertz. He owes nothing to Chelsea. He's not a boyhood Chelsea fan. He just came to us as an opportunity, the same way he came to Arsenal as an opportunity. And I'm not even going to reference him as like a sort of mercenary. He's just an ambitious footballer that wants to play, at big money clubs and earn lots of money and play in highest level. He owes nothing to anyone, really. So I've got no issue to him. And like I said, I'm thankful for that goal in Porto and stuff, But for Chelsea, now let's think about it from our perspective, because there's, to circle back to this narrative that, almost seeming like we've been mugged off. Because Kai Havertz, to generate £65 million base fee on a player that was earning 220k a week or something, when you want to, lower your wage structure, and he wasn't on incentivized wages, he got massive flat rate at Chelsea, and he was not, let's be real, he just wasn't producing the goals. He was absolutely not worth that money. He's a great talent, he has these wonderful moments, but just that productivity wasn't there as a forward to justify such insanely high wages, right? So, and for context, he's got a pay rise at Arsenal, but his base wage at Chelsea, is double of what Cole Palmer's new contract is worth, new salary is worth. So Cole Palmer had the most goal involvements in the Premier League last season, over Erling Haaland, over Ollie Watkins, goals and assists together. He had the most. He won the PFA Best Young Player of the Year. He won the Premier League Best Player of the Year. He scored multiple hat-tricks. He scored 4 goals in a game. He won more man of the matches than I've had hot dinners. Do you know what I mean? That season. So he had his pay increased to half of what we were giving Kai Havertz. So in terms of value for productivity, superb. We were simply not getting that for Kai Havertz. So we alleviated ourselves of immense wages and made an incredible transfer fee to him. Now, this is the bit that people are forgetting as well. Kai Havertz didn't score a goal for 20 games at Arsenal. He got a sympathy penalty given to him. Was it by Bukayo Saka, who'd already scored 1 or 2, and he's like, "Oh, just take this guy and score." And he took ages to settle in, and it became a bit of a running theme. The headlines, flop of the season, this, that, and the other. Now, granted, he got going. He scored a few goals. He scored 12 non-penalty goals, I believe. 12 non-penalty goals, which is okay. It's not great. And of course, Chelsea were playing him up front. And Arsenal playing him up front. Now we might be playing Nkunku up front, but we're playing Nicholas Jackson. Now, Nicholas Jackson, in his first season in Premier League football, in a dysfunctional side, scored 2 more non-penalty goals than Kai Havertz. He scored 14. So you could be talking about, well, Kai Havertz isn't a striker, he's a versatile attacker. All right, we can talk about Cole Palmer then. Do you know what I mean? He was £25 million less than Kai Havertz, and he's just blown away the productivity. So we've lowered the wage extensively. We've upped the productivity extensively. Whether you look at, Cole Palmer or Nico Jackson, which sort of play the sort of roles that Kai Havertz does, like striker or just in behind. And that's 2 players. So in his 3rd season of Premier League football, he scored 2 less non-penalty goals than Nicholas Jackson in his first season in Premier League football, who, by the way, was playing for the most dysfunctional, crazy Chelsea side. And, Arsenal deserve a lot of credit. They're a settled, functioning unit. Still, the goals weren't there. Now, this is not a Kai Havertz hit piece. I think he's a very good footballer. I do. I think he has immense moments of quality. I think he can, work hard. I think he can also mix it with the rough and tumble of the Premier League. He's not a prolific player in terms of production. Lots of alliteration there. But that's kind of fine. I don't think you buy Kai Havertz to score you, over 20 Premier League goals in a season. You don't. You buy him as a player who's a little bit versatile. He can go here and there, who will score the odd lovely goal. He'll probably have a couple of howlers in there, and like missed kicks and silly little moments. But that's fine. That's what he is. Me personally, is that worth 65 million quid? Probably not. And I'm not saying that, because we got Cole Palmer for 40 and he's a genius or whatever, and Nicholas Jackson cost 30 or whatever. I think he's got a great quality and he comes with prestige for winning the Champions League, but I still probably don't think he's worth 65 million quid. I just don't. And also, the wages. He's on best part of £300,000 a week at Arsenal. Now, I don't know how their wage structure works, how incentivized it is, but that's so much money. I understand it's banter and this is what football fans do. Go, well, we've got Kai Havertz. He scored a couple of goals last season. Your mugs, we've taken them. But I feel like context is required. Trust me, if Jadon Sancho continues to tear up at Chelsea, I will be referencing the fact how we bought him off Man United for £20 million and how he's like halved his wages to come and play for us. Kai Havertz got 65 million. He got a wage pay increase, and it was very, very difficult start at Arsenal. I just really want to sort of like illuminate how this narrative, just the facts of the story. Again, he's a great player. I think he's a good player for Arsenal, and if they win a trophy at some point, he'll probably be an important part of that. Okay. Transition. There we go. Similarly, Mason Mount. I do want to speak about Mason Mount because he's been represented as like, this flop, this sort of joke wearing the number 7 at Manchester United. Now, yes, I have like a bit of a sour taste left in my mouth from the optics of the Man United move. I think he's a good guy. I literally think, from what I've heard, people have dealt with Mason Mount. He's a good lad. He's intelligent. He's smart. He speaks well. And he's a good, ruddy footballer. I know he's not been in the England team for a long, long time, but he was the first player for Chelsea to get into double digits for both goals and assists in the Premier League since Eden Hazard. Of course, Cole Palmer's blown that to pieces now. But it was still good from Mason Mount, And he is a good player, and he's a good team player as well. I understand, even though it was only 12 months left, I understand why he fetched a few quid. Because again, like Kai Havertz, he's won the Champions League. He's proven I know he's just been injured ever since he got to Man United, but his availability, much like Kai Havertz, was pretty darn good. Like he was his large body of his career at Chelsea. I know he had a few injuries towards the end, but the large body of his Chelsea career, his availability is there. Best ability is availability. You got him from there. You can play him as not as a double pivot or a double 6, but you can play him as a number 8 and number 10. You can play him off the left. You can even play him as a false 9. I think Ten Hag's done that. He's a good player, and he will be a good player for Man United. I don't rate Ten Hag as a coach, so I don't think he's in the best position. I do wonder if if Thomas Tuchel bowled up at Man United and replaced Erik Ten Hag, you'd see Mason Mount playing well again. So, similarly, just like the Kai Havertz being some amazing steal for Arsenal isn't true because of the money they paid for him, the money they're paying him, and just straight up the productivity levels that he's demonstrated at Arsenal. And of course, what's been alleviated from Chelsea. We made a massive fee for him. We've got massive wages off the books. And we've upgraded that productivity with the likes of Cole Palmer for a lot less money. It just needs to be, people need to be a little more cerebral when they think of that. And similarly, Mason Mount, yes, it's not gone well for him so far. But if utilised appropriately, he is a very effective player, and he could be a star. I mean, he's wearing the number 7 for Manchester United. I don't know why he's taking that. It's like us giving the number 10 to like Pulisic and Mudryk, just hoping they will do well. And but everyone thinks number 10 Eden Hazard. I know Willian wore it for a little while, but it's almost like it was a placeholder. He was keeping it warm. But the number 10s properly, since Eden Hazard has been poor, I don't think it did Mason Mount much good. I mean, also the position he plays in as well. He's a midfielder. Like, you don't give number 7s to midfielders. I think Kante did wear it for a little bit. Anyway, but Kante is a special case. I digress. Let's move on. So let me know what you think about that stuff. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about Reece James. We don't know when he's going to be back. I've said so much on the channel regarding the captaincy that I do have issues with James, and that is purely on a communicative level. he is an amazing footballer. People will still rightly make the very strong case that he's Chelsea's best player. Yep, in the world of, Cole Palmers and, Nkunku's, and still the strong believers of people like Caicedo that the ceiling's meant to be insanely high. That Reece James, and also, Gusto, great player. But as an all-round footballer, as a guy who can play centre-back, right wing-back, CDM, and was trained as a striker as a child, Reece James is amazing. Like I said, Kyle Walker recently was interviewed saying he's the best right-back in the world, Reece James. So, all things considered, he's that guy when in fitness and in form. And of course, he loves Chelsea as well. He's like a warrior on the pitch. You've seen the goal celebrations where he holds up the shirt with a Chelsea on it and kisses the badge and bites the badge. Like, he freaking loves it. Great. But he's just so softly spoken. He's not assertive. And that's why in the battle of captains, when Chile sort of piping up, of course, he got the vice captain. I liked how Ben Chilwell spoke, and I was like, yeah, he seems like a captain, how he's talking about Chelsea and how he's representing. Mason Mount could have done that for Chelsea, the way he spoke. Azpilicueta was awesome at that. Now, Azpilicueta was like a really great serviceable player always, and that's what made him truly great. But he was never like Galactico Azpi. But he set the standards, he was professional, and he spoke very well about the club. Captain. Now, I've got reservations about Reece James with that. And of course, is he going to be available on the pitch again? Because Chelsea are in this season is going to be the Reece James analysis season. I can't go on. I'm not saying we sell him because I don't know who buys him, but we need to figure out something. Give him another job. Don't make him play football anymore. Train him as an accountant or something. Like, I just don't know, man. Like, because he is on a lot of money and he's on a flat fee and he's the one guy because he deserves it, whatever, and everyone's happy. He's so good. But I do really worry about it. In terms of the captaincy, I do want to speak about someone like Levi Colwill as well. Obviously a bit younger, he's just 20 years old. But I think he might have been captain in development teams, but he carries himself a bit more like a captain, how he talks. Of course, you think of, I know he's taken the number 6 now, Thiago Silva, which is big number to take. I think he had JT's number before. So he's taking these iconic centre-back numbers, and they were both leaders and captains in their own right. So he's kind of following that path. I do see Levi Colwill sort of becoming Chelsea captain. I know we're seeing Enzo wearing it a lot, but we'll see what happens with Enzo. Is he going to be an absolute, nailed-on starter in 12 months' time? I'm not so sure. He might be, but I'm not so sure. I feel Levi Colwill will. And, of course, he's the academy, so he's a Chelsea flag bearer. I would quite like that. Of course, if Reece James comes back in the side, starts playing football every week, keep him as captain because he'll die for Chelsea on the pitch, and that's good enough for me. But I did want to highlight these other elements of the captaincy that have been a concern long-term. Right then. Please do leave your thoughts in the comment section of stuff I've spoken about today, the transfer saga dramas that keep bleeding into the headlines and fan discussions still, and the captain stuff as well. I'll be very keen to learn people's thoughts on that. Right, thank you for joining me. I hope to see you back here very soon. Peace.